Story 1. How to deal with the never-ending lies. I'm not going to get into much of the past in this post. Too long and painful, but 6 months ago, wayward wife of 20 years left me for AP. There was serious long-term gaslighting before this, including her bringing up my trust issues as something that could lead to divorce. We went to couples counseling where she continued to lie for a few weeks until I found out and she told the truth. Fast forward to now, separated for 6 months, 50/50 custody of our 4 kids. So, zero communication is not an option. What's making it impossible for me is the constant ongoing lying combined with complete lack of empathy. I'm not expecting that to change. I think she's too far gone. One example is she had some things to pick up for the kids from my house. She told me to leave it by the door because she would be coming by very late to pick it up. Not long after I hear noise outside and turns out she sent one of her APs to pick it up. I got, I think understandably, triggered. Like could she at the very least have warned me? On top of that, she tells mutual friends and family a mind-boggling fantasy version of what happened, including that I was abusive and that I left her. She also denies that the divorce had anything to do with AP. I checked with the marriage counselor to make sure I'm not insane. He confirmed my memory about when she said she wanted to work on reconciliation, but she also wanted to still regularly talk to AP at the same time. That he told her she had to make a choice. And she chose him. The rest of that session was intro on divorce process. She also wasn't careful when she had the kids, and my oldest overheard her having an intimate call with AP, after which he came to tell me to make sure I knew. He told me he didn't ask her about it because he knows she always lies to him anyway. Eventually, he tried to talk to her, and she denied AP had anything to do with divorce. Kid isn't an idiot. He told me he just knows now that he can't talk to her about it. The lies are constant, even mundane things like why she was late, or why she needs me to pick up kids. It's always lies. Oh right, I'm in a country where you can block a spouse from leaving county until divorce proceedings end. After court she asked me if I had filed for such an order and if so to make sure it gets cancelled now that case was over. I had not filed for it. I find out a few weeks later that she had gone to London a few days before the case ended. I can't even fathom what she was trying to accomplish by asking me about the flight restriction if she knew it never existed. At this point I've blocked her on everything except one email address. It's inconvenient, but I don't know how else to protect myself. Even with just email, I get triggered. It's been recommended that I only communicate via an intermediary, but I can't really imagine how that would work. Who do I find to take that role? What if something is urgent and intermediary isn't responding? But mainly I just can't deal. Thank God I don't have feelings for her anymore or find her attractive in any way. But still, I get triggered from any communication, as it always puts me into suspicion mode, and triggers memories of the other lies. Gaslighting, etc. People say that I have to just stop caring about what's true or not, etc. I'm not sure how to do that. On top of it, I'm concerned for my children. She's left them home alone at night for hours, and lied about it obviously. Who knows what she says to them about me, or what they are exposed to in her house. I know APs are sometimes at her house when she has kids. She asked my oldest the other night when he was about to go to bed to get out of his pajamas, get dressed, and walk to the supermarket to buy things she needed for their lunches the next day. It's like 8 degrees at night these days. Thankfully, he made an issue out of it, so she relented, and according to Son, he thinks she asked one of the APs to shop for her. I'm worried for my kids. My lawyer says I don't have enough to push for full custody yet, and it will be risky because we already know she's willing to make false claims about me. Worst thing for them would be for them to only have her if I lost custody. I'm just so confused and hurting, and don't understand how to heal when there is no way for me to completely cut her out of my life. Reader comment. Keep documenting. Get a co-parenting app. You think you're being traumatized. Your kids will live with this pain the rest of their lives. It sucks because you have such limited control on her terrible behavior. The best thing you can do is become the healthy and stable parent so that one day when her kids actively reject her, they have someone to fall back on. Don't actively disparage her, but help your kids understand that you are the safe and trustworthy person, and if they ever feel uncomfortable, they can talk to you. She will continue to spiral and make poor decisions for your kids. You have little control over that, but the 50% of the time you have them, you can be healthy and stable and reliable, and be their source of comfort. Lean into them, be the lovable one, and honestly, if an option, get them therapy to recognize mom's unhealthy patterns. Your poor children will struggle their entire life because their mother is not right in the head. Be the reliable and dependable parent. That is absolutely the best way to get revenge. When they choose to spend holidays with you because of how mistreated they feel from their mother. When they go to you for advice in relationships and life because they don't trust their mother's judgment. Help them learn to say no, to move but do it in the most loving way possible. Original poster. That's what I'm doing. What's the benefit of the app? that its record is recognized on courts. I never say anything negative about her to the kids, which is hard as the little ones talk about AP like he's an uncle. And yeah, being the best father is pretty much the advice I've gotten from therapists and other advisors. My 9-year-old, unprompted, has told me a few times he likes being at my place better, so I guess I'm doing okay at that. At this point, revenge isn't something I think about anymore. I just want to stop getting thrown into loops from the lies. Just earlier today she was supposed to pick the 6-year-old up from speech therapy, and I got a call from the therapist that she didn't show. I found that WW sent me an email at 5 a.m. saying she was sick and didn't think she would be able to pick her up. The kids wanted to talk to her this afternoon and the calls weren't going through. Eventually she called back, and you can hear a party in the background. Who knows where? It's just so hard to not get angry about stuff like that. Anyways, I'm in a much better place than 6 months ago. Just hope this stuff stops bothering me soon. Reader comment. Just wanted to tell you to not listen to people who said you shouldn't care of what is true or false. You totally should care of what is true or not. Everyone care about the truth, and you should care about your reputation getting attacked by your ex-wife. Your reputation is a part of you. It's an extension of you. Obviously, you have to fight to defend it when you can. I think doing full NC is the best for you. Try to find an intermediary and play smart for your children. BTW, if you can clean the lies of your ex in the different social circles where she spread them, do it. It mostly won't have instant results, but in long term it's important. Don't let her defame you freely. Original poster. Thankfully, a few of these friends approached me to tell me what she told them and that they don't believe her. I'm just nervous that with time she will manipulate them the way she did to me. That's already the case with my MIL, who I was very close with, who at first was completely on my side, but slowly I can tell she's starting to believe WW. I have same concern with the kids. She's such a tremendous gaslighter. It's hard to imagine they won't succumb to it as I did. BTW, am I allowed to enforce that she doesn't call to speak to the kids when they are with me? She does all the time. I have no problem letting the kids call her if they ask. Reader comment. The truth, Opus. You are not over here yet, Opus. Moreover, she is doing everything to trigger you and she is succeeding. You are still doubting yourself for nothing. Don't try to understand your ex-Opus and don't underestimate her too. She is a foe. If you are still looking for closure or truth from her, you are deluded. How can you expect honesty from a betrayer, deceitful person? Why are you still arguing with her? You can't shame the shameless. Many divorced parents can reduce contact with all interactions through a co-parenting app. Exchange and drops are not in her home. Your home is your sanctuary. Except your family and children, no one is permitted to come. The past is the past, Opus. The person that you knew is no more or maybe never existed. As for your kids, don't underestimate them. Kids are resilient. If you feel there is still a trauma, then therapy is a must. Sorry that you met this terrible person that passed for a wife. I hope that you will find the loving partner that you deserve, Opus. Original poster. I think I'm over arguing about the past. At this point I just want the lying to stop, or for me to somehow not care. But it's hard when, for example, she needs me to do something like pick up the kids. For whatever excuse she gives, I assume she's lying by default at this point, and it just feels SHTTY to have to inconvenience myself for what's probably a lie. But what's the alternative? To say no. Who knows what will be with the kids then? This morning she had my 6-year-old daughter brought from therapy to school alone in a taxi. Story 2. My wife cheated. We have been married nearly 4 years and together for nearly 8. We have a 1-year-old daughter together. Our relationship was becoming distant, and my wife stopped sharing things with me and would never initiate physical contact. I think I first noticed this about 12 months ago. I thought it was down to stress and she has a tough time with the baby, postnatal depression, and medication. I did talk to her and raised my concerns, and she said she would work on our communication. It got fractionally better for a while, and got worse again. At this point I felt I didn't have anyone to go to other than my wife, and I didn't discuss it with anyone else at all. I brought it up again. However, this time it was in more of an argument and it ended the same as before. I had noticed that my wife was becoming more absent and detached from the relationship, and I asked her if she still wanted to be in it, and she said she loved me and did want to remain. In our discussions and arguments, she stonewalled me. This had been the case for a while. In the past month or so I have had niggling feelings that something might have been going on. This was mainly based on my intuition rather than anything else. I was considering unlocking her phone, following her, or putting a tracker on her car, but I decided not to as it was an invasion of her privacy, and essentially wrong. Then I saw a message on my wife's phone asking if she was free for a call. It was from her male best friend. I was with her the rest of the evening, and she didn't make any calls. I then realized that this was probably a regular occurrence and that she was hiding it from me. I then decided to take action. I unlocked her phone and could see that there were lots of messages from this guy. There were also regular phone calls for weeks that I had no knowledge of. I didn't have time to read them really, but I knew something was up. I then took her phone and copied the messages and sent to myself so I could check them in detail. I felt really guilty about this, and it took me a few attempts before I could actually go through with it as I felt like it was wrong. The messages were clearly very flirty, and it was a clear emotional affair. But there were parts which were on Snapchat and also parts which had clearly been deleted. With the information I decided to confront my wife. She admitted it was inappropriate but said it was just good friends and that there was no romance. I asked her if it was anything more, if there were any photo exchanges or physical encounters. I told her to look up what an emotional affair was, and she conceded that it was inappropriate. I asked her again if there was anything more and she said no. She didn't know that I had seen her messages on her phone. I asked if I could look, and she said if I wanted to, but there might be hurtful things about me on there. So we left it at that, and I said if she wants it to work, she has to be honest and tell me if there is anything else. I left it a couple of days and spoke to her. She said that she had contacted the guy and said they couldn't talk anymore and to have no contact for a while. I asked her why she didn't speak to me about this first, and she said because she thought I needed space. I said, do you not think I might have wanted to be involved in that and that I might not want her to speak to him ever? She said she thought I might say that. I then reiterated how if there is any chance of reconciliation, I needed her to be honest, and she said she was. I then said that I wanted to look at her phone. I went through and showed her messages and grilled her. She admitted to sending suggestive photos on Snapchat but said she sent nothing more explicit, and that there had been no physical sexual contact. I then showed her more messages and grilled her more, and she admitted to having intercourse with this man. She said it was just once. I asked her to be honest and she said she was. I then showed her more messages on her own phone and she admitted to sending explicit pictures and to touching herself on Snapchat with him. She still said she only met him for sex once. After some more interrogation, she admitted to a second time and that they had planned to another time, but he got too drunk. The most recent time they had sex was very recently, and my wife assured me that she had used a condom. However, before this we also found out that we were pregnant. I say we. The condition date according to the pregnancy test puts the conception near to the date she had sex with this guy. I obviously have found this very difficult, and so had she. It's probably worse for her at the moment. I'm currently handling it quite well considering. I am not sure what the future holds, and I have no idea how to manage it. We are going to speak with a professional, and I have had thoughts about getting a paternity test for my existing daughter who I love with all my heart, and I hate myself for even considering taking this action. I also have considered a prenatal paternity test, although whatever the result I would still intend to support my wife as I don't want any risk or negative effect to come to my daughter. This is making me feel very anxious at potentially wasting a year or so of my life. I want to be open to repair and build a new relationship with my wife, but I also know I deserve better. I know a marriage is about making the other person the best they can, and I do try to do this and still want my wife to thrive and heal whatever we do, and despite what had happened, I do still love her. The main reason I would like to see if it can work is for my daughter, but I understand that even if we both genuinely try, it might not. I know this is a long message, and thank you to anyone reading and offering any constructive comments or wishes. Reader comment: she's your wife. What privacy does she need? What do you hide from her that she can never know about but doesn't jeopardize the relationship? Why are you the one feeling guilty? You did everything to stop this behavior and fix any issue. Your wife loves you because you are a babysitter for when she wants to meet guys. She knows the child might be his and she isn't taking it hard. She is just ashamed you figured it out. Reading through your statement, and I quote, I have had thoughts about getting a paternity test for my existing daughter who I love with all my heart, and I hate myself for even considering taking this action. I also have considered a prenatal paternity test, although whatever the result I would still intend to support my wife as I don't want any risk or negative effect to come to my daughter. What are you talking about? You hate this. She did it. Why are you feeling guilty about finding out your wife is cheating and might have made you raise another man's child? That's not love, Opus. That's you being dependent on her. You want to support your wife still. You don't want negative effects on your daughter. Your wife didn't care. The biggest negative effect would be waiting 20 years when she needs a kidney only to find out she can't use yours. Reading through your statement, and I quote, I know a marriage is about making the other person the best they can, and I do try to do this and still want my wife to thrive and heal whatever we do, and despite what had happened, I do still love her. Opus, you need individual counseling. You are the only one that tried to make this work, and even at finding out your daughter might not be yours, you are talking about how you feel guilty. I can't tell you how important it is for you not to rug sweep this. Original poster. I feel guilty about the fact that I am unsure that the person who I think is my daughter, who is the most important thing in the world to me and who I base my whole life on, might not be mine. I'm guilty for having those thoughts about her. I also understand that they are justified thoughts. Reader comment. That's not the only thing you felt guilty about, Opus. It's like any part of you that doubted your wife you felt guilty about, and it was all within reason and justified. That's a little normal, but you feeling guilty for everything you learned about your wife and the extra possibilities. Are you okay, Opus? Original poster. Just to be clear, I don't feel guilty for what she's done at all. I know that there's nothing I have done that justifies her